Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on Ghana television. Here on The Point of View, we pick the right topics, we get the right guests, we ask them the relevant questions on the issues that matter, and you usually learn something great. If you're watching on television, join us with your views on the WhatsApp now on the screen. If you're watching on any of the social media platforms, please feel free to comment on the link. It's a two-topic show tonight. We go to Nigeria to find out the latest with the NSAS protest and some of the very chaotic scenes we've seen from various parts of the country. We're speaking to a very influential blogger in the country and also a senior member of Ghana's parliament who's in charge of our Foreign Affairs Committee. Later on the show, we'll be talking about the ballots in Ghana. It's about 44 days to election 2020. 12 candidates on the presidential ballot. The arrangement couldn't have been better for many neutrals. One is the sitting president, two is the former president. What does this mean? For those of you who believe in the magic of numbers, we break it down for you. Stay with us.
Good.
It's not long ago that things were normal. Good friends could meet for a good drink and share good times. It's a pen. And then everything changed. And our bars, the center of our communities, all closed, sending us all indoors. But now, things are changing. Kakra, kakra. Small, small. We're getting our lives back. Obey ye. We'll get back to the way things were.
Hey, mama.
Hey, want a drink?
Yeah, man.
It's time for us to rise up.
Hey, you welcome back.
As we look forward to making our bars safe, Guinness Ghana will invest 10 million cedis through the Yin Boom program to get our bar owners back on their feet. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back to The Point of View. So tonight we go to Ghana's biggest neighbor, Nigeria. Indeed, is the largest country in Africa with the chaos that's earmarked the NSAS protest. Today is day 13. Last week we brought you a story about how the demonstrations were unfolding. We spoke to people in Lagos. Well, yesterday was a bloody Tuesday because we saw images of shooting of civilians. Let me give you a short roundup of what's been happening there. Caleb Kuda has this wrap-up of Nigeria over the past 24 hours.
Founder of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, Fulani Kwajafa, told the BBC recently he feels sad and guilty the unit he formed 28 years ago to tackle a wave of armed robbery, kidnapping, rapes, among other crimes, had itself turned into banditry. Officers of the anti-robbery unit over the years have been accused of robbery, extortion, torture, and even extrajudicial killings of Nigerian citizens. According to Amnesty International, it had documented at least 82 cases of torture, ill treatment, and murder between January 2017 and May 2020. Tired of these, the youth of Nigeria started protests. But this year's has been the most radical. It is traced to a tweet on 3rd October narrating how SARS officers shot dead a young boy at Ughelli, Delta State, and abandoned him on the road. The tweet got more than 10,000 retweets. Thousands, including Nigerian celebrities, poured onto the streets of Africa's most populous country, demanding justice.
They come with all sorts of stories about reform, what they're allowed and what they're not allowed to do. but it's about time to completely abolish SARS, and that's why we're here.
You guys to support the movement.
In response, the Nigerian government announced the disbandment of the squad, much to a short-lived jubilation, as the disbanded squad was to be reformed into another unit. The protest intensified. An indefinite 24-hour curfew was imposed on Lagos and other regions. However, videos on social media show the military opening live fire into the crowd of defying protesters at Lekki Toll Plaza last night.
My own friends have been kidnapped by SARS and taken to the cash point of the ATM to take money so that they can be released. Based on what crime? It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Why are we having police on the road that are meant to protect us, but they're the ones giving us anguish and grief? You understand? So the system is not working, and we know that our leaders know. They've just been keeping quiet about it. And you keep keeping quiet about it, then there's going to be a revolution. We have to fight, because your oppressors are not going to willingly stop oppressing you. You have to fight them.
12 persons have so far been reported dead, but authorities there have denied such reports.
So that was Caleb Kude's report. We're going now to Nigeria to speak to author and influential blogger JJ Omojua, who's joining us via Zoom from Nigeria. JJ, thanks for joining us. Good evening.
Good evening. The pleasure is mine.
Great to have you. We also have the Member of Parliament for Nsawam Adwejiri, who's also the Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Affairs, Honorable Frank Anodompreh. Honorable Anodompreh, thanks for joining us. Good evening.
Thank you, my brother. Good evening.
Brilliant. JJ, what is going on in Nigeria? Last week we covered the protests. We heard last night was crazy at the Lekki toll booth. What on earth is going on?
It's just the killings by the police authorities, by soldiers, and also by hoodlums. Because until then, it was just peaceful protests all across the country. Nigerians basically saying, look, stop killing us, telling the police to stop killing them, telling the government to end SARS and to bring those that have done the killing to book. But up until 48 hours ago, things started to take a new turn when hoodlums started to sort of infiltrate some of the protests. And then yesterday, things heightened when reportedly soldiers fired into the protesting ground in Lekki, one of the major spots of the protest across the country.
There's uncertainty about how many people were actually killed. Amnesty tells us there are 12. Do we actually know how many people were killed in the shooting?
I can tell you that nobody knows the exact number. We're still trying to find out. Everybody's still trying to find out. Nobody knows the exact number. So I'm not going to give a number because I've been following all the reports across the major TV platforms in Nigeria. Nobody has stated a specific number.
Your pinned tweet on your Twitter handle is quite serious. You say, since COVID-19 lockdown began in the country in April, more Nigerians have died from security forces than by the virus. And you attribute this to Al Jazeera. Is this correct? I mean, is this correct?
So, interestingly, when I saw that tweet from Al Jazeera, the first thing I did was to save it. So I have that tweet on my phone. I think I'm going to try to show you. I have that tweet from Al Jazeera AJ Plus on my phone. Hopefully I find it so easy. It's not such a difficult thing to find. Just to make sure that even if they went ahead to delete it, I would have the facts with me. It's a bit difficult getting it out.
So it's an Al Jazeera tweet? Originally?
Yeah, it was an Al Jazeera tweet. So I found it very interesting, and it was quite contrasting when you think about the devastation that the COVID has caused, and to find out that, and I know that Nigeria has lost at least 1,000 people to COVID-19 all year. So to find that number, I just thought it was such a big argument for why we had to stop the police from killing Nigerians. But yeah, I got that from Al Jazeera because, as you would know, I have quite a big platform. I cannot afford, even though I'm not a conventional news platform, with 1 million followers, I cannot afford to just put anything out there without some verification. So not only did I pick it from Al Jazeera, I also saved the source on my phone in case they ended up deleting it.
The protests have gone on for 13 days. Is it just a SARS issue, or SARS was just the trigger? Why are young Nigerians so angry?
Young Nigerians really are They are angry, and let me also say that it's not just in Nigeria. The young people all over the world are angry. I've been paying attention to movements around the world, and it's just crazy how angry young people are. But one thing I've also noticed that intersects most of those protests all around the world, or the anger around the world, is that there's always a need for something to trigger that anger. There's always something that presses the switch and the anger gets expressed. In Nigeria, it's been potentially ESAS. And I would say that because there's been a particular Nigerian politician stroke activist calling for a revolution, and nobody paid attention to his protest. But with his ESAS, he just went poof. But the longer a protest goes on, the more the issues get bigger, because once you don't address the immediate issue, people start to think, why are we even just asking for this one? Why don't we even ask about the fact that we don't have jobs? Why don't we even ask about the fact that our policing system, our educational system, and the likes? But primarily, this is about ESAS. But of course, anybody who's been paying attention to Nigeria would know that there's much more anger beyond police killing people. But of course, you want to first of all stay alive, and that's why ESAS is such a big issue. ESAS and end police brutality.
I'll come back to you shortly. Let me talk to the Honourable Member of Parliament. Honourable Anodompre, you are on the few members of Parliament who's been talking on this issue since it began. I'm sure you noticed the clamor on social media for the President of Ghana to say something about this. What's been your what's your view on the anger on social media clamoring for President Akufo-Addo to speak, and what's your overall view of what's going on in Nigeria?
Well, my brother, first of all, I think that it's justified, it's largely justified that there is a certain clamor on social media for the President to speak. One, he is the head of the Electoral, and so matters being put in context, the President comes in view. Besides the point, the President also has a huge credibility, not just within Africa, but beyond the frontiers of Africa. And if one can recollect, fresh in our memory is what happened in Mali, the swiftness with which the President moved in. So there is a certain respect and credibility associated with our President, and more particularly because he's the leader of the ECOWAS. One is expecting that he'll be able to do the needful. So I could understand the clamor and the call for him to speak. But beyond that, I think that Ghanaians are also justified to be worried. Apart from the proximity between Ghana and Nigeria, and the fact that we are almost a twin country, there is a lot we have in common. And my brother, you know it, that as the people normally say, that when Ghana sneezes, Nigeria catches cold. So there is a lot at stake. And if this matter is not handled well, the spillover effect could be there, both for us and even beyond Ghana, in the sub-region and the world at large. So justifiably, you can the avalanche of condemnations and commentary that have come from even world leaders, particularly about this matter. Now, if you want to zero in on Africa and Ghana particularly, if you look at the borders and close countries like Cameroon, now Cameroon, if something happens, most Nigerians cannot go to Cameroon because reasonably they would have drifted to the southern part of Cameroon. And when they go there, that place is also not too safe for them. And so reasonably where they want to head towards is Ghana. Amidst all the COVID and the fact that we also have our own challenges, it would be a difficult matter. If you look at the population of Ghanaians in Nigeria alone, if they only are drifting to Ghana, it will be a challenge. Not to talk about the number of Nigerians who naturally want to drift to Ghana. So these are the concerns, these are the critical issues at stake, and these are the variables that keep current. Now, if you look at the history, especially about the now dreaded Boko Haram, how it started. If you know, they didn't start as violent as they are before. And then when the military of the Nigerian government moved in and killed some of their leaders, that was when this began to get out of hand. So if our brothers in Africa and then African leaders, and particularly President Buhari, we want to learn a lesson from the way the things have happened over the years, then as a matter of importance, immediately they may have to call all the players, the youth leaders. And for me, any time this can have happened in history, I mean, check all history, the European history, African history, American history, there has never been a time in history that matters of this nature has been resolved with violence. It always ends.
Fair enough. Frank, fair enough. Let me just ask you about the president's comment. So I'm reading the tweet for those who haven't heard it, and then I'll pick your comment on it. He says, I join all well-meaning persons in calling for calm and the use of dialogue in resolving the NSAS impasse in Nigeria. I've spoken with President Buhari, who's committed to this end and has begun the processes that will lead to reform. Violence, be it on the part of the police or protesters, cannot be the solution. To the families who have lost their loved ones, I express my sincere condolences and I wish the injured a speedy recovery. Some people feel the statement is too blunt and was not clinical enough in condemning the killing of innocent civilians. What's your comment?
Well, for me, I think that the president could have done more than that. You know, don't forget, he's a diplomat, and at this stage, it is not much about how enduring your commentaries are. I am aware, maybe it's a privileged information to me, I'm aware of backstage consultation and discussion that have been going on for the past 2 weeks. So the president could not have said everything in that tweet. So for me, it's enough for now. And what is important is the discussions that are being carried on beyond, behind the scenes. Now, in my view, the president cannot do more than what is expected of President Buhari, for instance, who is the head of the country. And he will have to bring leadership to bear to the police administration and all other personalities and, you know, government functionaries who are involved in this matter, for them to understand that violence cannot resolve this matter. And in the first place, the original intention of the government was not flawed, actually, but clearly things have gone out of hand. There have been excesses in terms of the actions that have been staged, and the youth also have the basis of what they are doing. So the ECOWAS chairman, what more can he do than to call President Buhari? And as he indicated in the tweet, that he has already engaged President Buhari. He has assured him that there's going to be engagement. So now what we have to do is that we all have to support our brothers in Nigeria, particularly President Buhari, who for me is one key important person in the scheme of things.
Fair enough.
Once he begins to engage the youth and all the other parties, I believe that crime will begin to rear its head in Nigeria.
All right.
And it will not take too long when they will begin to rear its head.
I'll come back to you. Japheth, I'm sure you've seen President Akufo-Addo's tweet. What was the reaction to this within the Nigerian blogosphere?
I think, first of all, people were shocked that they were being addressed by the president of Ghana, who already mentioned that he had engaged Nigerian president, a president that really and truly, I cannot tell you right now if he's alive or dead. And I think that's the feeling of many Nigerians, because nobody has heard from him, nobody has seen him, he has said absolutely nothing. And you know how shocking it is when the president of Ghana has addressed the issue, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, virtually everybody that matters around the world, celebrities from different corners of the world have addressed it. So the reaction is primarily from that point. My personal reaction to the president's take, and I mean President Nana right now, Akufo-Addo, is that the second part of his tweet was making it look like protesters and the police were exchanging some form of violence, but that's not the case. The violence was from the police. And then, of course, they were hoodlums. And for me, I needed to clear that. Other than that, generally speaking, people were just disappointed that they were hearing about this issue from the president of Ghana rather than hearing from their president. Also, to also show you the tweets from Al
Jazeera.
Andrew, if you can just zoom on it. That's it.
Yeah, we'll zoom on it.
Of it.
So it was an Al Jazeera tweet. I see that AJ Plus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Part. Yeah.
All right.
That's it right there.
But Japhet, so are you saying that since the protest started 13 days ago, President Buhari hasn't said anything at all to the nation?
That's not the case, actually. Since the protest started, President Buhari reacted in the first week. First of all, he posted a number of tweets, and then he posted a tweet where he was meeting with the IG of police and the vice president, and then he had a video on his timeline that was posted. So he did react in the first week. But it has escalated since then. It has become a global issue since then. And since it became a global issue, the president has not reacted in any way, whether as president or through his different channels of engagement, his spokesman. So I need to make clear, he did react in the early days when it was still largely a local issue. Now, NSAS, I mean, at some point during the last 10 days, NSAS was the biggest issue in the world, definitely number one issue on Twitter at certain times. And the president has not reacted. He has not reacted specifically to what happened in Lagos yesterday. Ordinarily, these are the things you react to as a human being, and not to mention as president, who swore to protect the people and to defend them just last year.
When you say hoodlums have taken over or joined, what do you mean? Are they not part of the protesters? And who is behind these hoodlums doing the burning and the looting?
They are clearly not part of the protesters. And how do I know that? The protests have been on, the protests had been on for at least 10 days. There was no violence. The protests had been on across different parts of the country. There was no violence. People were clear. In fact, I saw a video at one of the protest grounds. A politician who went there and started to talk about revolution now. And the protesters said, no, that's not what we're protesting for. We are saying end SARS. And first of all, you need to lose your cap because we're not doing no political colors here. And for me, there couldn't be a clearer commitment to the cause than outrightly telling a very, very popular activist and politician that we don't want any of this, we just want to end SARS. And now that things have switched, it is quite clear that this is not about the protesters. These are different elements. There are people that have suggested that government introduced, and I'm not saying this is true or not, I'm just saying what's been there, that government introduced some of these thugs because they needed an excuse to go to be high-handed. And there have been videos in Abuja where these so-called thugs were being dropped from SUVs, black, big, expensive SUVs. There's also the other side. I've heard videos of some person who's always clamored for a separatist state, trying to make it look like he's been the one ordering the destruction of property and all of that. But the bottom line is, these hoodlums, these thugs are clearly not protesters. And I know this, anybody who's been paying attention would know this, because for the first 10 days or so of the protest, there was absolutely no sign of any of this. That it should also be said that the longer a protest goes on, the more there is room for people with other intentions to seize it and to do whatever they like. It happened in London, it happened in several states in America, where the Black Lives Matter protests ended up at certain times becoming opportunities for people to loot and do all sorts of stuff. So this is
final question, Japhet. How is this going to end? We understand there are curfews in many states, yet it looks like protests still took place. How do you foresee this ending?
I think, first of all, I should speak to the ideal end that I expect, and that is that the president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, if he's still alive, will step out, get on TV, and address the nation and tell them that arrests have been made of the police, arrests have been made of soldiers, arrests have been made of hoodlums, that the government is committed to prosecuting all of these people who kill people, and also announce compensation to the families of those that have been affected, and also commit again, which they did commit to, I have to say, but commit again to the 5-for-5 demands of the Nigerian people in terms of how they want the police to run, to reforming the police, and to also admit that in times past, the government had paid lip service to these commitments, but things would definitely happen now. I think that if the president did that, or if he does that, a lot of people would be demotivated to step out. And we'll start to have a good picture of what can happen for the future. Until then, right now, things will continue the way they are because there's chaos, there's no sense of leadership, there's no sense of the president's presence of leadership. and it just feels like everybody's on their own. So as long as the president continues to run away from his duties and his responsibility from what he swore to do as president at least twice now, it's hard to call an end to what it's hard to know exactly what's going to happen. And I have to say credit to some of the subnationals. They've taken responsibility in the midst of the limitations of the constitution that grants the ability to control the security of these states to the president and not the governors. Some of the errors in the Nigerian constitution that need to be addressed.
Thank you very much, Japhet Omojua, influential blogger and author. Let me come back to the MP, Honorable Anodompre. So, President has tweeted, some are expecting a comment or a statement in full. From the parliamentary level, I know there's the ECOWAS parliament as well. Beyond what the president has said to us in the public, what else can be done from a diplomatic point of view to try and bring some pressure and solution to the Nigerian problem?
Okay. I think that there is a legislative diplomacy approach. And today we are told the speaker, our speaker, will be called upon by the Nigerian High Commissioner. You know, there is a wonderful friendship between our speaker and the Nigerian speaker. So we are hoping that that will begin a good process towards the resolution of this matter. So there will be a number of fold approach. I mean, both at the executive level and the legislative level approach would help. So we're just waiting. I'm told that the meeting is this week. The speaker has invited me to sit in that meeting. And let's see how things go. Now, at the executive level, I think that there's a lot of work the Nigerian people themselves have to do. Because beyond the tweet, as I told you earlier on, I'm aware President Akufo-Addo is doing a lot more talking, a lot more mediation and consultation behind the stage. Now, if you listen to our brother in Nigeria when he spoke, clearly lamenting the stony silence coming from government leadership. So we will urge President Buhari to open up and show a more willingness to dialogue and to mediate. I think if he does that, the other interested parties will also open up. And then once they begin to sit behind table and begin to talk, that will calm tempers down, and that will be a very good beginning for the resolution of the matter. I dare say that unless our good brothers in Nigeria themselves show that will, it becomes very difficult. All the world leaders can come up with the trade and the commentary that they must bite the bullet by showing a will to sit and talk and mediate. That is only when anything the ECOWAS leadership, the ECOWAS chairman, and other world leaders will only come in to complement what the Nigerian leaders themselves will do. Because if they themselves don't open up and help themselves, it will be very difficult to find a solution to this matter. And unfortunately, Ghana cannot finally because of the effects. The fact that Nigeria is the most popular country in Africa, I mean, the biggest economy and all that, it will have a spill effect not only on Ghana, but in the sub-region and even across the frontiers of the sub-region. And unfortunately, we have a president who is also the leader of the ECOWAS. So a lot more is also expected of us, as we are also expecting our brothers in Nigeria to show some more willingness to mediate and also to dialogue. But I'm very confident that at the legislative level, for the friendship I've seen between our speaker and the Nigerian speaker, we'll be able to strike a deal going forward.
Thank you very much, Honorable Frank Anodompre. He is the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, MP for Insawam Madrejiri. And thank you, Japhet Omojua, blogger and author in Nigeria, for your time. Keep up the fire. We wish you well, Japhet. Fantastic.
Thank you very, very much.
This is still the point of view. When we come back, we will be talking about Ghana's election 2020. It's about 45 days to election. What's going to happen with the voting? We're going to have balloting taking place. There are very interesting dynamics that we'll be discussing as well. Is there a correlation between the number of candidates and spoiled ballots? What about the performance of the smaller parties? We'll be speaking to Dr. Kobe Mensah about that when we come back. Stay with us.
morning, I just sent you Airtel Tigo money from my new number. We delivered 2 healthy kids last night. Congrats. Have you heard? Kwesi has
2 kids. Have you heard?
My son has 2 kids.
Abazi. No. No, your sister almost stabbed me.
Have you heard the news about the missing chicken?
Have you heard? Get free calls and free Airtel Tigo money transfers for 6 months on new Airtel Tigo SIMs. Get a SIM.
Nivea Men Deep Antiperspirant with the power of black carbon formula. 48-hour protection from sweat and bacteria. For a deep, clean feeling that lasts. New Nivea Men Deep Antiperspirant. Nivea Men. It starts with you. Official sponsor of Real Madrid.
Hi, babe. Am I seeing the scene?
Can you see me now?
I can. Wait, who's calling me?
I'm sure that's my mom.
I'm sure it's one of those girls.
Want to have an apple?
I'm trying to change this.
It's been a while since we last linked up, since we shared our news and told our stories.
Last week it was okay, but this week is very, very low. What's your suggestion?
We would look into that.
Makola Market has been closed down for cleaning and sanitation.
Since we last celebrated together.
Don't buy anything. Don't claim 5 Ghana credits. Free! Papa no see and go back.
From 1st October, get 5 cedis airtime total whenever you buy any 3 bottles of these Guinness Ghana products. Simple, cool chop and kasa. Just dial *1000* and the code under the crown, followed by the hash key, and your free airtime will drop. Let's raise our glasses and link up again. Offer is valid while stocks last. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Today is a double-barreled issue. First issue was with Nigeria, and we solidarize with all our friends in that country. We believe SARS has to end. But in Ghana, yesterday, 11 political parties and 1 independent candidate balloted for placements on the presidential ballot. Let me show you what the final ballot will look like. It will not look the same because usually the ballots are in a very long vertical fold, but we've arranged it in a different way. But the big stories: MPP number 1, NDC number 2. We have, of course, GUM number 3, and then we have CPP number 4. Nana Kuledu Ajimaronis is number 11. She's the NDP candidate. The independent candidate is number 12. Of course, there are other people in the middle. Well, initially, we told the MPP we were looking for number 4 because it was 4 more for Nana. But now they are number 1, and they say it means Nana is number 1 in everything. NDC said they were looking for number 2, and they got it. Number 2 means John Mahama's second coming. Let's just show you how it looks. I'll be speaking to Dr. Kobe Mensah on this shortly. But the question we have is threefold. Number 1, does the position on the ballot matter? It appears it does. Number 2, this is the largest number of candidates we've had since record started. 12 candidates. Well, while we're having 12 candidates, the smaller parties seem to be diminishing. We have charts to show you the poor performance. From a high of 11.2% in 1992, all the non-NDC MPP parties collectively made 1.7% in the 2016 election. So is it a case of the more the smaller parties, the worse the performance? We'll discuss that too. Some people also have drawn a relationship and a link between the proliferation or the number of candidates and the size of the sport ballot. There appears to be a relationship there. The more people you put on the ballot, the more people make mistakes. Those are some of the questions we'll be asking. Let me just say good evening to Dr. Kobe Mensah first. Dr. Kobe Mensah, welcome. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Bernard, and thanks for having me.
Fantastic. I had wanted to quickly demonstrate some of the historical angle to this before we do our interview. So, for example, in 1992, which is our first election in the Fourth Republic, we had 5 candidates. And surprise, surprise, the man who won was number 4 on the ballot sheet. So there you have Professor Albert Dubois, Dr. Hila Liman, Mr. Kwabena Daku, Jerry John Rawlings, and PHP General Eskin. Guess what happened? Number 4 won. And look at the margin. Wow. Rawlings won a massive vote that election year. and he essentially got 58.3%. That's in the bottom national. Edu Boahin, who was number 1, had 30.4. Hila Liman had 6.7. Of course, you put the three together, Hila Liman, Kwabena Darko, and Eskin, together they had about 11%. So in our fourth Republican election, number 1 did not win. Number 4 won. Let's go to 96. 96 was the year with the fewest candidates. We don't have a colored version, of black and white. Rawlings this time is wearing his Batakari or his Fugu. J. Kufuor was number 2. So in 2020, MPP is number 1, NDC is number 2. Well, in 96, NDC is number 1, MPP is number 2. PNC is number 3. Guess who won? Number 1. Yeah, Jerry John Rawlings, 57.4%, just 1% lower. Kufuor did better than previously, 39.6. The year 2000 was the first jump from 3 candidates to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's actually 7 candidates. Sorry if it's not too clear. GCPP is up there, Dan Latte. Mills, number 2. George Hagan, number 3. Edward Mahama, number 4. Charles Reku Broby, number 5. Augustus Obuadum Tano, number 6. J. Kufuor, number 7. Asieho. So candidate jumped from 3 to 7. Mills is 2, Kufuor is 7. What did the results show? Well, Asieho won 48%, first round. Mills, 44.8%. The rest together, only 3%. So, Doc, so far, it doesn't look like the numbers matter. Number 4 won in 92. Yeah. number 1 won in 96. 2000, number 7 has won. That's Asieho. Now, I don't know what MPP said. They just said Asieho. Runoff, Kufuor was bottom, Mills was up. Kufuor got 56.9%, the highest since Rawlings. So again, you can say number 2 won in that election because it was only 2 in the runoff. What about 2004, when Kufuor was the incumbent? 1 is Mahama, 2 is Kufuor, 3 is Mills, 4 is Oposika Agude. Who won? Number 2, Kufuor 52%, Mills 44%. So the thing doesn't look like there's any relationship between the number and the winner. But let's go on. 2008. Yeah. Akufo-Addo, number 1. Mahama, number 2. Mills, number 3. The rest, DFP, number 4. DPP, number 5. CPP, number 6. RPD, number 7. Independent, number 8. So this is 1 Akufo-Addo, just like he's 1 in 2020. NDC is 3, not 2. What happened? Akufo-Addo won the first round, 49.3. Mills was second, 47.6. And Mills was number 3 on the ballot. Second round, what happened? Mills won, very close, 50.47. Akufo-Addo 49.53. So even though Akufo-Addo won the first round, being on top, Mills won the second round. 2012, what happened? Mahama is number 1. Dan Latte's son, Henry Latte, is number 2. Nana Addo is number 3. Mahama won this one touch. So at least, so these 2 elections, number 1 won the first round. Just that Akufo-Addo won first round, he didn't win the second round, he was number 1. Mahama is up there, he wins 2012. Could it be that number 1 is good for winning? 50.6%, 47.8%. So for the 2008 and 2012 elections, number 1 has won by slight margins. Let's go to the last one. 2016. Where is Nana Addo? Number 5. Where is John Mahama? He's number 3. Who won? Nana Addo, one touch. Dr. Kobe Mensah, can you explain what is going on here?
That's correct. Now, first of all, let us establish that, the winning the election has so many other, factors that actually contribute to that. And the key of that is about the individual that is actually casting the vote, whether they think that your message actually resonates with them. There are quite a number of factors that people would actually use to choose, their political choices. One of them, we have established that the family lineage would actually contribute to somebody making a choice for that.
Okay.
Of course, the person's own needs, for example. It is also established that, a personality actually counts. So the reasons why people actually win elections cannot be only attributed to ballot paper position. That is not the debate. But the debate is that there are times where the ballot paper position will actually contribute, somebody's our political party's gains. And it's been established that in elections that are not highly salient, i.e., if you take assembly elections, for example, where the parties are not so known or the candidates are not so known, for example, people would use certain short queues to make their decisions. And that is where ballot paper position would actually come in. For example, if you have maybe MCs, if we were supposed to have MCs, being voted for, and people do not necessarily know the MP, the DCs very much, and the DCs are also not really attached to political parties, let's say it's non-partisan. Now, in that instance, people would actually use certain short cues, such as, first on the ballot, as a way of actually casting vote, because they do not have other information that could actually contribute to their decision making. So there are conditions that would actually, or should occur before, the ballot paper position would actually make an impact. But we should also establish that the impact that ballot paper position actually makes is not only on the electoral successes, but it's also, we call something like campaign effect.
Okay.
Right? There's a campaign effect, for ballot paper position. For example, it gives the party some kind of momentum, especially if the ballot paper position actually fits in with their own campaign narrative. And in this case, for example, the NDC is actually talking about, the second coming of, a former president, Mahama. In that case, it gives them momentum, and it sort of, it gives some oomph to the grassroots, for example, or the party's base, and then it gives them some beliefs. And don't forget, people ascribe quite a lot of other, theories on that, religious theories. We've seen, people talk about the number of perfection. Obviously, Otokuno is talking about, the ordained one, because they wanted to and they got to, all right? Again, NPP is talking about one means that, as we know, in society, when you go to school and you are number one, it means that you are the person who actually chops first, you see? And so they're actually using that as the socio-cultural, kind of conversation, saying that if somebody is actually first, it means that they are the preferred choice. So people have so many other definitions that actually go into the ballot paper position, to sort of create some momentum for their campaign. And I remember in 2000 elections, I'm sure most people actually understand that. I remember speaking to, Jake, in my PhD, and then he said that in 2000, of course, Jake is a marketer, consummate marketer, right? And it says that in 2000, they felt that President Kufuor's position at the bottom of the ballot could actually have an effect on his, success, or an implication on his success. Why? Because in marketing, we talk about eye level, all right? The eye level. So any salesperson, dealing with retailing, in merchandising, they will tell you that when they go to the shop, they want the shop owner to actually display their product at the top shelf, which we call the primacy theory.
Yes.
Because when the person doesn't actually know the product, the brand that they want to buy, they know the product, but they're not sure which brand they should choose. Immediately they enter the shop, they're looking at which of the brand is at the top shelf, eye level, and then they're making their choice. So in instances where voters are not really sure who to vote for, now the choice making has to be simplified. And by simplifying means you've got to be in a position where the person does not actually spend too much time going through the logs. So in that case, those parties at the top pile are likely to get selected, and possibly those parties at the bottom, because studies suggest that people read from top to bottom.
Yes.
And by the time they get to the bottom, they stay there. They don't want to come back. And that is what we call the recency theory. And so,
so on the basis of this theory, If, say, MPP had been number 9 or some random number in the middle, would it have made their work more difficult so that they are happy they are at number 1 because of the theory you just explained?
That's correct. Because if you are in the middle of the pile, now the chances are that people have to move down, and we're talking about those who do not have choice, not those who have already made their mind where they want to vote, but people who have little information about, who they have to vote. Now they have to go through the pile in order that they could select. So if you're in the middle of the pile, you're most likely to be disadvantaged because of the theories that we're talking about. You're better off at the very bottom, which, Jake actually said that they had to create a CEO and said, you don't look anywhere, just move straight to the bottom and cast your vote. Or you're at the top pile. Then it makes it easier for the person to actually choose you. Don't forget, there is also some demographics, for example, elderly people, who cannot really, pick up colors because of eyesight issues, may struggle to identify you when you're in the middle of the pile. And again, it could lead to spoiled ballot because when you're in the middle of the pile, someone, who has issues with finger movement, for example, could actually stamp and perhaps stamp you and other parties that they do not intend to.
Okay.
So in the middle of the pile, there are quite a lot of, issues that could actually go against.
So some people think that the NDC and MPP being 2 and 1 respectively helps them in parliamentary, especially because the parliamentary candidate may not have the same level of visibility as the presidential candidates. And therefore, if you have the top 2 being the 2 leading parties, that by default they will benefit than the smaller parties, because when people go to the parliamentary booth, they may not know the candidate, and therefore certainly 1 and 2 will benefit.
Certainly, and that's the salient theory that I was talking about. In elections that the contest is not so salient, i.e. it is not so popular and is not so conspicuous, and the candidates involved are not so well known, the position of the ballot is very, very crucial. Because the person is going there and say, oh, well, I did not really know these guys, so let me just choose. But also study has shown that when people do not have enough information, concrete grounds to vote, sometimes they abstain. So yes, there is evidence that suggests that in contests like that, especially parliamentary contests where the candidates may not be known so much, perhaps people would use party as a symbol to vote, which is much more likely, or they would use name recognition to vote. But in situations where the person perhaps is actually considering, let's say, protest voting, for example, and smaller parties actually benefit from protest voting. So in situations where the person doesn't want to vote NDC, doesn't want to vote MPP, but they want to vote other smaller parties as a protest, the top smaller party is likely to benefit because they may not really have enough information about them, and so they will choose which one actually comes.
Stay on the line. I will take a short break. When I come back, I'm going to show you 2 more charts, because you've answered question 1, which is whether the placement on the ballot influences outcome. I have another chart that shows the relationship between the number of candidates and the performance of the smaller parties. And I also have a very interesting chart on the relationship between the number of options and sport ballots. I'll show them to you and pick your brain on the 2. Stay with us. This is The Point of View. Don't go away.
Don't forget the balloons,
check,
the DJ,
check,
and the drinks.
Listen, honey, I've got this party under control, okay?
Daddy, don't forget our birthday cake with the sparkly candles. Daddy, are you there?
The party's at 4 p.m., honey. Don't be late.
With the all-new CowPay on the CowBank app and website, you don't have to worry about carrying cash. Just place your order with your favorite merchant and pay with a Visa or MasterCard, mobile money or CowBank account, or scan and pay Visit the Play Store or App Store and download the Cowbank app today. Cowbank app. Forget to cash.
Cowbank. Forward.
See, guys, the team will do all. So give me 4 more. We could do more.
This be what they call me. 4 more for what?
Master answer the guy. 4 more for what?
4 more to do more for you.
4 more to steal more excavators and our money?
Bisabio.
Or 4 more to kill Ghanaian businesses?
No!
4 more for family and friends?
4 more for neglected projects?
4 more for Sakawa and broken promises?
Open and now 4 more to borrow more with nothing to show? No way.
Hello, 4 more for lawlessness, intolerance, and harassment of the media and the political opponent. I beg you.
You make a cry self. What happened to the members of Ahmed Swali?
What about the members of the Delta Force where they attacked the court for Kumasi?
Where them also brutalize innocent citizens for hours West Woburn. Even you the one that 4 more.
4 more for more corruption scandals like the PDS, Australian visa fraud scandal, Canada fraud scandal, then PPE, don't call me contract for sale by the incompetent clearing agents. 4 more to steal more.
No!
Away! 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 Away!
Vote John Mahama and NDC for jobs and prosperity for all.
Hi, babe. Am I seeing the scene?
Can you see me now?
I can. But wait, who is calling me?
I'm sure that's my mom.
I'm sure it's one of those girls.
Want to have an apple?
I'm trying to change this.
It's been a while since we last linked up, since we shared our news and told our stories.
Last week it was okay, but this week is very, very low. What was suggested?
We would look into that.
Makola Market has been closed down for cleaning and sanitation.
Since we last celebrated together.
Don't buy anything. Don't claim 5 Ghana credits. Free! Papa Lucy and Koba.
From 1st October, get 5 cedis airtime total whenever you buy any 3 bottles of these Guinness Ghana products. Simple, cool chop and kasa. Just dial *1000* and the code under the crown, followed by the hash key, and your free airtime will drop. Let's raise our glasses and link up again. Offer is valid while stocks last. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back. This is still the point of view. Tonight is a double barrel. First part, we discussed NSAS in Nigeria. We had Japhet Omojuwa, who's a blogger, and we also dealt with Honorable Anodompre, who's the head of the Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Affairs. I have Dr. Kobe Mensah, who's a political communications expert, really, University of Ghana Business School. We asked him whether number 1 for MPP means one touch Nana, number 2 means second coming of John. He says there are many, many factors that influence these things. It's not just where the number is. I have 2 more questions. Let me show you this other chart we compiled in our team. So if you look at the left side, you have the year. In 92, we had 5 candidates. Turnout was 50%. 96, there are 3 candidates. Turnout was 78%. 2000, 7 candidates, turnout was 60.9%. The issue with turnout was that every year the turnout is higher than 70%, apart from, yes, there's from 70, higher than 70%, the incumbent wins, except 92. So 96, 78%, Rawlings wins. He's the incumbent. 2000, turnout is lower than 70, opposition wins. 2004, Kufuor, incumbent, 85%, he wins. 2008, turnout comes down below 70, you have a minority opposition winning. 2012, turnout 79.4, the incumbent wins. Turnout comes down to 68, there's a change in government. So that's the first issue. Now look at the red column. Rejected ballots. I'll come to rejected ballots later. Let's talk about small parties. Yeah. The blue column of candidates seems to be increasing from 92 to 2016. It's now 12. But the small party percentage seems to be reducing from 11.3. It's now 1.7. Some are predicting that now that we have 12, the figure in the pink column, small party performance, is going to go much lower. Do you agree with that suggestion based on what I've put on the screen?
Yes, I do. You see, the point is that when it comes to smaller parties, especially when they are not able to niche or they are not able to target properly, what happens is that they are sharing the pot of, the pot of votes that, it's going out there. Don't forget, majority of voters sometimes are fed up, not majority, but significant of voters sometimes are fed up with the bigger parties, for example. And that's why usually you hear the word, oh, we wish there's a third force. Now, those people who turn out to be, very tired of the bigger parties, sometimes they embark on what we call protest voting. And when they embark on the protest voting, sometimes they do not have a particular party in mind because the smaller parties are not perhaps doing a good job in targeting them because they're not actually focusing on maybe a single issue, for example, where other countries, maybe we can have one smaller party concentrating on green issues or disability issues, all right? Now, if the parties are not able to actually couch a niche for themselves, then of course, the people who are tired with the bigger parties are going to spread the votes because they don't really know which of these smaller parties represent their interest. And so by doing that, the smaller parties tend to actually share the protest votes that are available. And therefore, it would actually have highly insignificant vote that would really make an impact in terms of, turning the competition into a second round or something like that. So that's why you see, the smaller parties' voter share shrinking. It is also evident that if the competition is very, very keen, where we have a very tough competition, and people, although they are tired with their party of choice, when they realize that the opposition party or the party opposed to their party is likely to win, they will come back to their party of accommodation and make sure that they do not actually let the opposing party win. So they become like a fandom, like a football team, making sure that although your team is not performing, you still do not want the opposition to have an upper hand. So these are some of the reasons why you could find the smaller parties shrinking. But
you remember you did a survey where your survey showed that a lot of people said they were undecided. And people called into our radio show saying this year that they would not vote. Would that not benefit the smaller parties, the non-NDC MPP this year?
That is when they choose to vote. But if they decide to abstain, then of course they're not going to benefit from that. And the reason why they would decide to abstain is because perhaps the smaller parties are not doing a lot more to sort of attract their vote or to target their vote. And so they don't see the reason why they should vote for them. I have continually said that the smaller parties should do a lot more to appeal. For example, if we have to thrust the country in your hand, for example, you need not less than 80 people to govern. Majority of these smaller parties, when you look at them, you can only see the candidate and nobody else. If you ask them to even, if you ask a voter to even mention 5 of these, of the leadership of these smaller parties, they could mention perhaps 1 or 2. The rest of it makes difficult. So it brings to the fore that the smaller parties must do a lot more to attract the vote. If they don't do that, then they're not going to actually, although people may want to say that they're tired with these other parties.
We'll talk about the sport ballots later on a full program. There's a lot of information there. Thank you very much, Dr. Kobe Mensah, for your insights. He is a political communications or political marketing expert, University of Ghana Business School. Thank you very much. Earlier on, we had Japheth Omojua from Nigeria. He's a blogger and an author. We also had Honorable Frank Anodompre MP for Nsawam Adoejiri, who's the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. We hope you've learned something new. Thank you for joining us on The Point of View tonight. We'll be with you. The Voters' Diary with Vivian Kaloko is right up after this. Stay tuned.
The Point of View is powered by Airtel Tigo.